Hello and welcome to the Talking Head podcast. Welcome back if you joined us before, but welcome if you haven't. This is a podcast that talks about mental health awareness and all that shebang. If you are affected by any sensitive issues, I would advise that you do proceed into this podcast with caution. It isn't for the faint-hearted. Today's topic is all about body image. And today I'm going to be joined by Ben, but just before I go and cross over to him, I do want to talk about a bit about my own issues with this problem. For those of you who don't know, and let's be honest, if you're listening to a podcast, you probably don't know what I look like. I'm an 18-year-old, quite skinny male from Yorkshire. And Yorkshire doesn't really have much play in the story at all, but I thought I'd mention it. I've had a lot of run-ins with my own kind of body image. I've quite often felt ashamed by it. This hasn't been helped by my kind of issues with mental health and my journey with it over the years. But I haven't really... In fact, no, I have. I've had a few run-ins with people who've mocked me for the way I look, and obviously that's not helped. And that comes in many different forms and has come throughout my life. And my body image has become something that I've grown to accept. But I understand that there are a lot of people still out there that are unhappy with the way they look and go to extremes to try and sort that out. And that's what this podcast is going to be about. It's going to be all about exploring that, body image is something that is now an issue more than ever. We're growing up in a time where we're staring at our screens and seeing the best versions of people, and all that bullshit is not relevant and is something that you shouldn't really ever take to heart, and is something that you should never really take much focus on, because it's not going to do much for you. It's just going to make you feel worse. And we'll talk about social media in an upcoming podcast. But for now, I just want to cross over to my friend Ben, who is going to tell us a bit about his own kind of relationship with this issue. So take it away. Take the floor.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is an issue. I mean, it affects more people than you think. Not just like. Because a lot of women as well have like beauty issues or body issues, and you see a lot in women, but it is also men as well, even if it is predominantly women.
Yeah, I definitely think as well, we should probably introduce you a bit more. Do you know what I mean? So that people get a bit of an idea.
Well, I'm not an expert.
No, I know, exactly. But I feel like people should know we are the same age.
Yeah.
So... we've both had the same kind of life experiences, really. We haven't gone through two different lives. Do you know what I mean? We can kind of relate to each other on a lot of levels. But if you could talk a bit about how social media has sort of influenced the way we see what the perfect body image is.
Well, I mean, it changes all the time, to be honest. And it's usually extremes. It's never really an average body is the perfect one. I mean, you never go on social media and see a supermodel that just looks like every other person.
Exactly. I mean, everybody is different, and we've got to kind of accept that. But there's always a part of me, and I think this is never going to go away. And I think this is just one of these things that you kind of, I don't know, you kind of want through life, and you always wish that, I wish I had like a six-pack or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's the sort of goal that everybody wants to reach, male or female. You kind of just, there's certain things you wish, and majority of the time you won't have it. But there's a lot of things out there that I feel we go through life wanting. And, six-pack's one of them. For me personally, I would say muscles, any sort of muscle. So I know six-pack's a muscle, but biceps, meaty legs, just kind of looking sort of hench. Sort of something that would be like, that's ideal to me. But at the same time, with what I want to do as a career and what I want to do, I'm not saying that's an excuse because it isn't. But what I'm saying is, I've got to kind of focus more on that than my own body image, because that's something that kind of does take over people's lives. Is the way they look becomes more important than their actual sort of aspirations, and that's sort of where we can tie in the fact that people's body image then becomes now related to their own job. So do you want to talk about that?
What would you want to be? All those things you want. Would you even want to be that way if you didn't see yourself like as anything wrong with you?
So are you asking me, would I want to
Well,
be?
you wouldn't want to change if you were happy.
Yeah. So there's sort of, with anybody that wants to change, there's sort of an unhappiness in there. No matter how much you are happy and you can claim to be happy, there's still an unhappiness, and you've got to acknowledge that wanting to change yourself and wanting change usually sparks unhappiness and sort of not liking the way the situation that you're in. Um, but I suppose a lot of people do, as I was saying, build their careers upon it, and that becomes kind of normal. And that I think that's quite dangerous, because the thing is, you're never going to be the same as you were yesterday. Your body is constantly changing. That's out of our control. We can't do anything about it. You can do plastic surgery and all that shit, but it's not going to fucking make sure that you don't look like a tea bag when you're 90. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna look, that those wrinkles are gonna come. Do you know what I mean?
But I think that's what everyone's just so focused on things that we can't change. And
Yeah.
it's kind of unfair.
I mean,
People aren't born. They don't. When you're born, you don't get a checklist on what you want to look like.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all sort of raised with the way we see things, and I do think it's changing. I do think it's changing for the better. But there's still so much more that needs to be done. And you know what? I can't really fault many companies for not representing different sort of cultures, different sort of weight categories and stuff like that. For they're doing so much for humanity just by representing different sort of people, and that's brilliant. I saw recently that in one of the Nike stores they had a mannequin that was built larger than your typical mannequin.
Plus size.
Yeah, and it was I think it was a woman on a run. That was the kind of pose that she was in, and I was thinking, like, that's sending the perfect kind of memo. Like, it doesn't. I don't understand why. Even like it's small things like mannequins that are like they're sort of things that are just ingrained in our culture now, and we've sort of just accepted. But really, you need to look at the little small details, and those small details, when you adjust them, when you collectively adjust them, they make a big difference. So they seem like small things, but they actually do make a big difference. And the only reason I brought this up is because somebody shared it, and if they hadn't shared it, then I wouldn't have seen it, and a lot of other people wouldn't have seen it. And for her to have shared it, because it was a female that shared it, and she's all about empowerment and stuff like that, and that's brilliant. And for her to have seen that and then shared it, it kind of made me feel like she's sort of empowered by that herself. And so literally those little small things do go a long way.
Well, it's a good start.
It's a good start. I mean, obviously, we've
Nike.
still got a long way to go.
I mean, this is Nike. I mean, they could be showing those models on the posters and stuff in their stores, but like at the same time, they could also not make clothes big enough for them.
Yeah. It's whether or not you
time.
stock the same,
like
stuff as well.
You could always have a friendly face saying, "Oh yeah, we support everyone," and then secretly don't change a thing.
It's like, it's sort of that kind of idea, and this is sort of unrelated, but it's still true. Is when companies kind of adjust their social message, they'll use their social media to promote a certain thing, and then the day later they'll be promoting whatever their business does trade with. Do you know what I mean?
Like take pride.
So
Every,
yeah,
every company
exactly.
gets a rainbow, but
Yeah,
they don't do anything.
Exactly. So it's all about rainbow for a month, and then as soon as the Pride month's over, it's gone, and then there's no mention of it for a good 11 months until it comes around again. So it's like it doesn't. It's something that needs to relating to body image. It's something that you can't just make temporary. It needs to be something that is a permanent change. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And like when we talk about body image, that's the thing. Like I feel personally, in my opinion, like the image is arising out of obesity because obesity is obviously rising. It's a very big concern. But like for me personally, I don't want to seem like I'm coming off as someone who's like, moaning because where's my spotlight? I know quite a few people that deal with issues of being underweight, and it's one of those things that sometimes you can't fix, sometimes you can. It's just one of those things that it needs to be represented a lot more, just like any other.
The thing is, you always have these people who are like, there's always the people who are like, why you show, like they'll show off underweight skinny girls which definitely got starved to get there, or they were definitely pushed to get there by like a manager or a stylist or some shit, and it'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm fine showing that, but the second they show like underweight males or overweight males or anything like that, oh no, why are you promoting unhealthy lifestyles, stuff like that, and it is, it's really, it's bad.
See, the idea of promoting an unhealthy lifestyle, okay, I get that, because you kind of want to promote the ultimate elite, especially if you're like a sports company like Nike that is very sports orientated. You kind of want to represent and push the image of these people that are just these ultimate envision of fitness. They are at their physical peak, and that's what it's all about. But you've got to understand that like 1% of people are like that.
That's just not how fitness works, though.
Yeah, and like the thing is, people will look at body image, right, and certain these perfect ideals that they wish they could have, but they will never be able to achieve. And that is kind of the sad reality for a lot of people. It's like it's very, very difficult to be this, what you would probably say is a perfect thing, because these perfect kind of supermodels are unrealistic and they go through extreme shit, and that's how they live their life. That's what they get paid for. Unless you want to get paid for doing that, fair enough, you do what you want, you can do whatever you want with your life, but it's just realizing that that perfect image is quite often very unrealistic
and not perfect, honestly. Like, I think a lot of people see these posters everywhere and they'll be like, oh, this is what I'm expected to look like, or this is what society views as beautiful, and everything else is, oh, I'm ugly, I'm hideous, like I'm weak, like just with anyone, and that's not true. Like the amount of times I see so many people like think they're like, even with body dysmorphia, just constantly thinking about their appearance, constantly. Every time they cross a mirror, or like every time just anything happens involving their own body, and it just depresses them out, or they just don't want to think about it, and that is the worst, honestly. Like, you can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, I think talking about that sort of not liking you looking at yourself in a mirror, I can relate to that on a different level. Is it's sort of a specific anecdote, but this happened to me many times, and it doesn't happen to me anymore because I'm really not that bothered. But I would often have the Snapchat app open on me, and obviously when you open the app, it's a camera. So usually it would be the one facing yourself, on your face. And I, for some random reason, for a few years, I couldn't actually open the app facing myself because I didn't like what I was looking at. Which, is really, I think, really sad if you really think about it. Like, you can't physically look at yourself without feeling some sort of discomfort.
But that's what it is. That's what this whole thing does.
Yeah, and it's acknowledging, and I think it comes with growing, sense of maturity. I think the more you mature, the more you realise none of that shit matters.
Well, I think,
but it's still very much difficult because it doesn't ever go away. It's very, very difficult to kind of completely overcome it because I think it's something that for a lot of people, and especially me, is always in the back of my head. Even the littlest things you could ever think, like I struggle with. I mean, quite a few. I don't think I'm not really that unhappy with myself at the moment. Like I've grown to feel quite confident about myself and quite alright about myself. But it's like the little things. It's like the things you wouldn't even imagine to believe. Like looking at my height compared to other people. Like I'm not 6 foot, and I'll own up to that. I'm not gonna be. I probably won't be 6 foot. My dad's just 6 foot. My mum's far off that. And because of that, I'll probably never be 6 foot. Unless I stick on a pair of Air Max trainers where I might just scrape it. Do you know what I mean? But it's one of those things, like, it always plays in my head that, because I work in a sports shop, actually, I often would stand on the shop floor, and I still do it now, and look around and kind of view myself in comparison to other people walking past.
I mean, I do that on trains.
When
everyone stands up.
About height? Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I think, in my opinion, I don't think it's been helped because, but I've always had this image in my head that women, and this is such a shit stereotype because I know it's not true, but it's women only like guys that are over 6 foot. Now, as someone that is interested in women, that makes me feel like shit. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, well, I can't even fucking do anything about that. Like, with like weight and stuff like that, you can most of the time do something about it. In certain circumstances, you can't do anything about it. But in height, you physically can't. I mean, I actually saw one time there was a guy that had his fucking like spine like sort of remade and like I don't know how they do it, but somehow he managed to go like 4 foot taller. Not 4 foot.
4 foot.
Jesus Christ! No, tallest man in the ever. Yeah, some guy managed to get like 4 inches taller, which is like through like expensive surgery.
But that's the thing. You can always change something with surgery, but like, does it really? Obviously neither of us have got surgery. I don't think so. No. It's like, would it even change anything? Because you know that it's fake. You know you're fake, but do you care? Does it? Yeah, it's a matter of like, and when you do compare yourself to people height wise, like you said, sometimes you will be taller than people, and to be honest, it does make you feel good. It makes you feel better.
Oh yeah, like I think with men there's an issue
very competitive
about if you're taller, you're more dominant. And I sort of feel like that's sort of where the idea of women like taller men comes from, because I'm talking like in terms of ideas that have been kind of brought up and stereotypes that are now completely worn out, that women like men who can protect them and stuff like that. That's sort of where we kind of came from in like the caveman times and stuff like that. Men were expected, I suppose, to be dominant, which and be this, just insanely fit,
I mean, it goes both
ways.
ways.
We were fucking, throwing spears at bears and shit. We were fighting fucking bears. You can't be right. I couldn't fucking fight a bear.
Well, you want
right?
A dog is descendant from a wolf, but you wouldn't expect a dog to go out hunting.
No, exactly. It's like, and I'm not saying that anybody expects us to fucking fight a bear. Like, I'm not gonna fucking go on Tinder and then on the first date go, yeah, you're all right, but I need you to fight a bear to be with me, because otherwise it's not gonna work.
I guarantee some people do that.
If that fucking happens, I feel sorry for the guy that went on that date, because you're fucked. There's no way you're winning against the
guy. some rural area, definitely rural Tinder.
I'd be terrified if I had to fucking do that. I'd just fuck it off. I'd just go, no,
I mean,
no.
bears are quite cute, but they can be quite very scary.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no way I don't think I could ever be one. But we'll stop talking about bear fighting because that's an issue in itself, actually.
Our podcast episode for bear fighting.
Fucking hell. Right. Anyway, talking about body image and readjusting your body with adjustments. Can we go into that? Can we explore that a bit more? Because we haven't had any surgery, but can we talk about people that have? And
well, yeah. Well, to be fair, if you go on Instagram, I guarantee the top 10 accounts all have, or they all use filters, or they use face app, or
yeah, I mean that's something I didn't even think about, like a face app and
you don't even need plastic surgery
and
nowadays.
filters. God,
Never
I mean,
trust photos.
when we're going into fucking photos, I don't know about you, but I never posted myself on social media until I was about 16.
I used to, and then I stopped.
Yeah, I used to till I was about I took like a 2-year gap of like not posting anything on my social media. For some reason, people still followed me, but I kind of felt inclined to post something eventually because I was with somebody that was posting stuff, and I was like, oh, maybe I should post too. Like maybe that'll, I don't know, make me feel a bit better. Like and make me look a bit more socially active if I post something. So I posted my first ever Instagram photo of me in the mirror in my room taking a picture of myself
I talk
with the flash on. Yeah, we'll talk about that. And I put it on. I was really anxious because I didn't know how many likes I was going to get because likes apparently matter.
Yeah.
You know, when you're young and not even when you're young, when you're so conscious about stuff like that and you know how high you are up at the social ladder, likes matter. And so I think I got like 50 likes. I was chuffed. I was like, fucking hell. I thought I was going to get like 30, but like
buzzing.
Like 50 was all right with me. And yeah, and then I sort of started posting. I've sort of been kind of not as regularly posting. I haven't been posting every week or so. Now I post like pretty much every 2 months, so more or less that. That's what I'm trying to do because I do think, you know, there's no point sharing something if it's not.
Well, to be fair, something like that
relevant.
It's not with social media. It's both putting yourself out there is both terrifying. It can ruin your life.
Yeah,
or
100%.
it can be a confidence booster. Like if nobody's replying to you, then it's fine. Like it's just you putting yourself out there, and
that's what a lot of people use it for. And I'm
Yeah.
not complaining the fact that they're using it for that because that's all good and well. Like use that for that. Like I that's fine.
I respect people who can
but
just
like if you're gonna show yourself, like just literally take a picture of yourself in a mirror, like I had, and it wasn't really associated with any memory or anything like that. It was just associated with them taking a picture of themselves and them feeling good. Then that's fair enough. Do that. But I feel like it sort of sends sort of unwanted and not intentional at all psychological messages to people's heads that they should probably do the same. Because people have a tendency to follow the crowd and to kind of conform to sort of expectations and what.
Well, I guess there's pros and cons.
Yeah, I personally don't see much point in posting something that isn't associated with a good memory or something like that because it's sort of like posting yourself for the sake of it.
Well, let's do a first on the podcast and do some confidence boosting.
Right.
Let's post a selfie to Instagram.
You're going to do that right now?
Let's do it.
A live thing.
So
how about the end of the podcast?
I'm on a private account, so
Oh,
can't
fuck.
share it.
Right.
But this is to my followers. I hope you enjoy. I don't have many on Instagram.
All right. Okay. Well, I don't know where my phone is actually. I think it's over there. I will like it before the end of the podcast, or you can physically do it on my phone. But yeah, no. It's mad how I'm now with that thought and of how I can't share something because it has to be associated with a good memory. It's just me though.
Well, that is not out there.
Oh, it's a nice photo.
Isn't it?
Very nice photo.
I mean, it's not that bold because I've face mask on.
Are you
but
are you
we're happy with
happy
it.
or sad? Because I can't tell with you.
We will wait until people reply, and that will determine how happy or sad I am.
Right. Okay.
But that's the thing with social media, though. It don't matter what you think; it's all about what others think, and that's literally the point of it.
That's yeah. No, you don't. I mean, when you put it like that,
That's literally the point.
It's shit, isn't it?
I could spurt my opinion out there, but it means fuck all if I don't have people replying if they agree or not.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Or two questions actually. Does likes matter?
Yeah.
Okay. Does followers matter?
Yeah. What are you talking in terms of? What are you talking in terms of?
Like a personal account.
A
personal account that is, it's just literally just for you. It's just something, it's nothing to do with business or anything like that. It's nothing about getting yourself out there.
Because likes only matter if you are either trying to get an ego boost or you. Well, even then they don't literally matter, but they matter to people.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. Do you care?
Do I
about
care?
How many likes you get?
I don't care about likes or followers.
You don't care about followers?
On my personal, no.
See, there are people out there that I know that do care about followers.
The only time. See, I used to really, really care about followers.
I feel like it's something that you'll do when you grow up, when you're young though, because were you ever like in that mindset where you were young and you had Facebook and you had to add people
I
on
added
Facebook?
everyone.
Yeah, you add people because having loads of friends makes you look cool.
I think it's also if somebody you know asks for your Facebook profile, you want to look like you're better.
Yeah, if you have 1,000 friends, it's going to look better than somebody that has 60 friends.
I found funny because I never ever looked at people's friends lists. I never found myself doing that.
No, I didn't. The thing is, the most of the time when you add people, you just add them out of instinct. Like if I knew somebody pops up on my Facebook. I don't really use Facebook anymore, but if they did, some people actually do pop up on my Facebook. Like, for example, my barber popped up on my Facebook the other day. I'm quite close to my barber, I would like to think. Like, I've been supporting his business since he first opened, and that was about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've been there going every day ever since. I've only cheated on him once, right? And that was when I was desperate and he was fully booked. I think he was on holiday actually, and I was going to a festival. And you can't be looking dead at a festival, especially if you're there for 5 days. You need to have a little bit of freshness to you if you're going to be stinky. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to kind of have that bit of freshness. So I did actually kind of cheat on him once, and I did apologise. But yeah, I did add him because I will be going off soon, and I won't be able to see him as much. And I knew that he was actually going through a tough time, and so I thought, why not just add him and just let him know subconsciously that I'm there for him. And yeah, so I mean, there are people from work that have left, and I've added on Facebook since. Just because some people you want to stay in contact with, and some people you don't. But let's get back onto body image, because I feel like we've kind of gone a bit of a tangent.
That's fine.
So if we can just talk about what you mentioned earlier about mirrors.
Yeah.
So expand.
Well, I mean, obviously, like, if you ever looked in a mirror and gone, surely, like, you hate, like, a photo of yourself, or you just hate how you look in a mirror, or, well, yeah.
There's certain photos you look at and you think,
that's
Christ.
the thing, you look different in every single photo, and every time you look in the mirror, that's not what you look like. And that sounds confusing, but it's a mirror's a reflection. So your face is symmetrical, so it flips your face, so you look different in a mirror. So it's quite sad that so many people look in the mirror and think that that's what they look like, because your entire body will look different, not just your face, your entire body.
That's an interesting point to make, I think.
Yeah.
So many people judge themselves the way they look in a mirrr.
As well as photos, they're like different camera lenses. Like, how lenses work, different.
Yeah, exactly.
Fields, like, it really changes how you look.
It's difficult because you will never really fully know how you look.
No,
you can feel your face and feel how you look and imagine it, but you can't fully piece what you look like, and it's but I mean, I don't understand how it's become such a big thing for people to know. Now people use their phones as mirrors.
Yeah, but even though there's a you got flipped cameras, exactly. And the lenses might change it to start you.
Yeah, and I think no camera is going to be able to fully pick up what you look like. So just ignore it. Just ignore that shit.
I mean, it's always easy to say ignore it, but nobody's going to come out of this going, yes, I'll ignore it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna solve someone, but if you
Yeah.
can try and pay less attention to it, then it's sort of
I just
a
think
win
it's
for you.
everyone's always going to go, yes, I shouldn't care, but I do. And they can't help that. People can't help that. And that's just how it is. And it sucks.
Mm.
The best. How do you think relationships change body image? Because I know they can change them for worse and for better. Like there's two ways that you can.
I'll tell you something. I think it makes a relationship, sorry, makes you like 10 times more confident with your body.
It does give you hope in a sense. Like you, somebody looks at you and doesn't think what you think.
Somebody out there is not looking at your body and looking at it in disgust. At least we hope.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We can hope that they're fucking not doing that, but you would like to think that they're not doing that, and it's a massive ego boost when you have when you're in a relationship, and that's why a lot of people pursue them, because they want to know that they aren't ugly. I've met people that do that.
Well, the whole concept of ugly is if you're capable, or like if people see you
as unattractive.
Because attractive.
Yeah.
And attractive is relationships. Like you can't find someone attractive and not be like, that's what attractive is.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't really blame people for pursuing relationships, because it does do a lot for your mental health, and it does do a lot, for that. But you've got to remember, before you do that, you've got to make sure that you're happy in yourself. That's something I'm very firm in believing. Okay, and just let me expand upon that point, because you can go into a relationship unhappy and it can make you happy. I'm not saying you can't. But it's very important, before you do, to make sure that you address your own issues, to make sure that you don't bring them into your own relationship. And by that, I mean certain issues you can have, and an unhappiness in yourself should be, in my opinion, solved before you enter a relationship, because it makes the relationship not only easier, but I just think it makes it a lot easier.
Why does a relationship have to be easy?
I'm not saying it. I think a good relationship should be one where you're open and you can sort of feel very comfortable. But I feel like that's going to become a lot more easy if you sort out your own issues before you do that. Like, being able to be independent, is a great way to kind of prepare yourself for if, inevitable happens and you break up with someone, or that stops. You become sort of, when you're in a relationship, I know we're kind of sidetracking a bit, but it's still all about body image. You gain a confidence, and then you sort of become dependent on that person, and that dependency is what gives you the confidence.
So I think there's always relationships. What if you can't help yourself? What if you do need help? Like when you seek help, it doesn't just have to be a therapist. It can be a friend.
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing. Like, this podcast is all about talking to people, and talk to whoever you want. I'm just saying, you've got to make sure that you can be independent before you become dependent.
I think rather than focusing on being independent, you should just try to not be codependent. Like, if you're in a relationship, you can't be codependent, because that's an unhealthy relationship.
Yeah, you've got to learn to... I think you've got to learn to acknowledge that...
Some people need alone time.
Yeah, exactly. And you just definitely can't be completely reliant on someone for your confidence. You've got to find a bit of happiness in yourself.
You shouldn't place your problems on someone else if they're not, especially like out of nowhere.
No.
Like the amount of, like, I won't lie, there are people out there which I've had to just years. I've been their last hope, like stuff like that. And I don't want to sound selfish, but it's just unfair. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not happy to help you, but when it becomes like a weekly thing, like I'm stressed out because if I do something wrong,
it's not fair to stress somebody out constantly because of your own issues. You've got to sort of take a bit of responsibility for yourself, because you've got to be considerate of other people's opinions. Because you can say to people that you're having a shit time, right? And then you're kind of reaching out for help, but you don't know what the other person's going through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying don't reach out.
Always reach out.
I'm just saying it wouldn't hurt if you asked how they were as well, and then asked.
A lot of people,
because a lot of people reach out for support, and it's very one-sided.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's mostly the people who always ask how others are, which are the most in pain. In my experience.
Yeah, I do. I do agree. Like, when you are in pain, the kind of natural thing you do is reach out.
Instead of being one side, I think if you are in pain and you recognise someone else in pain, just try and have a conversation with them.
Mm.
You can both let out things. You don't need to. If you hate yourself enough that you don't like talking about your problems, trust me, talk about your problems is okay. And don't use other people as an outlet to feel better about yourself. If somebody's in help, actually help them because you want to, not because you are just putting off helping yourself.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, that's something that obviously ties back into relationships. You can obviously sometimes get brought into a relationship, and you're in a relationship, everything becomes clouded, and you don't actually see that you're sort of someone is really dependent on you, and that's fine if that's all right with you, but you've just got to make sure that the person you've got in a relationship is ready for that, because
you have to do things together.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about doing stuff together and stuff like that, but you need to make sure that person can do stuff independently, because I mean, God forbid, right? You're in a relationship and it somehow ends dramatically, right? That person needs to then learn how to be independent, and that's kind of bringing me back to my original point and kind of backing myself up. Is you need to be. It would be a lot easier for yourself if you learned how to be independent and be happy without somebody else. So
that I don't think
if it does end, I think, but if it does end, then you're making it easier for yourself, because it means you're going through less, pain, a lot less emotions, because you've been independent before, and so you can do it again. That's a great thing. If you've done something, usually you've got the confidence to do it again. It's that first step.
You should just make sure that you're actually make sure you can tell the difference between bottling it up and being able to actually withstand the emotions, because there's a difference. Because you can just bottle it up and show or convince yourself that you're not okay, or that you are okay, and actually you're not. It's very easy to lie to yourself. And I think that's a problem, considering people will be like, well, I agree, I'm independent, I can do this, I can help myself, and then they can't.
Yeah, I agree. Bringing it back onto body image. I believe you came here with a few statistics.
Well, I was
potentially
Googling.
Talk about.
I won't lie, I kind of got most of these from the same site, but
right, is that right? Have we got a source?
They have various sources.
Right. Okay.
But apparently, basically, 58% of teens, college age people, 58% feel pressure about their weight, which is a huge statistic.
That's over half, then, isn't it?
58%.
That's
just
so
pressure.
Sad,
that's not even feeling bad about it. That's just pressure.
58%, man.
Yeah.
Go on. Keep going.
Well, it's not just that, because obviously, with body image, it also stems many other problems. You might think, oh, I just have lower self-esteem, but you could develop anxiety, social anxiety.
Yeah, it leads on to many different things, doesn't it?
Especially eating disorders.
It's
very...
it's a very tricky one, because it does lead on to... It's sort of like that first... As soon as you're on that kind of train, the longer you stay on, the more dangerous it could get. It's like the more stations you're going to get at. The sooner you get off, the less places you'll have gone. If that makes sense. I'm sort of using an analogy
Yeah.
which sort of doesn't work, but it does work at the same time. But
Yeah.
you get my point about, you know, the
That's the
sooner you
thing.
try to sort it out, probably the less issues you end up with.
A lot of people, well, from this site, it literally says that, like, this is baffling, that, like, 95% of everyone with an eating disorder is between 12 and 25.
Jesus Christ.
And that you can't, like, that has to do with social media.
It has to
12
do
and
with social media.
25.
It has to be.
Something's causing that.
It's just looking at our screens all the time and seeing what the perfect ideal is. And that's why I fucking think... I mean, I'm going to do a fucking attack on social media in a podcast.
I don't think we should blame social media entirely, though.
I'm not saying... Because there are positives. A lot of positives.
You've got parents as well. Parenting can really...
Yeah, but there's... I will go into social media at one point. Basically, that's what I'm saying. I will do a podcast about it.
You should save your rant for...
Because there's a lot I want to talk about and a lot I want to get off my chest. But yeah, that is shocking. That is a shocking statistic.
That's not all.
Because go on. Oh, you're going to shock me even more.
Because only 10% of people with an eating disorder actually seek help.
That's mental.
I can't say I'm in the 10%, but that's the 10%.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking hell.
10%.
It's just like that. I think that's just from people not. There's not enough people talking about it.
Absolutely. It's very stigmatized.
It's people hear the that word and then they go, oh shit, like they're just kind of.
It's very negative.
It's very negative, and for some people, and I've been there, it makes my skin crawl because I think, God, like that is so. It's sad. And it's like
paint it as like, if you have this, you're
a freak.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I don't know if I've seen it in TV or something like that, but people often go.
Never represented.
You know, I feel like when it is presented or represented,
it's the same too.
It's awful. It's like this. It's the person that's dealing with mental health in the film with an issue. When they want to write a tragic backstory in a fictional film. And they want to write somebody who's dealing with something really bad. I don't know, eating disorder. And fucking scribble it down.
And it's always the same
people see it in films and they go, shit, like that's fucking horrible.
It's always anorexia. Always.
Yeah, and it's like...
There's so many.
Okay, it is a horrible thing. But there's better ways of talking about it than fucking writing a movie character that has it. We need to talk about... I mean, mental health... the funding for mental health awareness and stuff like that is always on the rise. You always see it going up. Brilliant.
I don't think it does anything.
But I don't think it does. I think what it really stems back at is, in my opinion, education, because that's where, as we can see, most of the people dealing with issues are young. Where are young people at?
They don't even go to get help.
They're at at school. The majority until they're about 16, is it?
I don't think schools talk about it at all.
No, and we had what the fuck was this is the thing. This is what pisses me off about the education system, and I'm gonna go into the education system on a separate podcast.
You have many rants.
I've got so many rants to go on, but the education system in England specifically, because I don't really know how what it's like in other countries, is, in my opinion, a shambles. Right? Instead of fucking learning about mental illnesses, I'm learning about rocks and corrosion in geography. What the fuck is that going to do for me?
Right.
Like,
I mean, even
it's not going to do shit.
Even when they finally do mental health stuff, they'll talk about suicide, but you'll get one counsellor in a corner office who you barely listens to you.
Oh yeah, it's like they'll go, oh yeah, we have mental
and the second you say you're suicidal, you get.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they have these officers and they go, it's available. But that's not how you fucking deal with it.
No.
If 10% of people are seeking help, that means that 90% of people are not speaking up.
Well, a lot of people don't.
That's why people need to be spoke to rather than they go speak to other people.
Not spoke at.
It's just ridiculous. It's like, I just hate the education system in England. It's fucking shit. It's.
When have you ever gone online and seen mental health things that weren't the same things over and over again? It's always, oh, if you're suicidal, seek help. Oh, if you are starving yourself, seek help. It's always seek help. They don't tell you how.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
seek
It's
help.
like we need to learn, especially. I just want to take it back to the school bit because I'm pissed off about it. Teach that in school. Teach how, because as we can see, most of the people are young. Teach that in school, and I guarantee more people will be getting help.
I mean, it's not just people with eating disorders.
No, exactly. It's all about. I mean, we're talking about
58% weight pressure, but it's also apparently, according to this, I don't know the source. There was a source though. Approximately 91% of women are unhappy with their bodies.
Yeah,
but only 5% of women actually have that mainstream, tabloid supermodel body. Only 5% have it.
I mean, what do you even fucking call that? I mean that's the thing, right? I don't understand why the perfect body is what it is, because
it's always changing.
That's the thing. It's always changing. You look what the perfect ideal body type would be 100 years ago.
It was
completely
curvy.
different. Now I think we're going out of the stage of
we're changing again. We're going from really skinny to really curvy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always changing.
It's ridiculous. It's like I don't feel I don't feel good for these for women growing up, because it's always changing. That's the reason why there's so much pressure, is because one minute you're the fucking what was popular. Oh, it's just changed a second ago, and now you're expected to be like this.
I think I know why it changes though.
Go on.
Because you have a whole generation trying to be one thing, because they all change or try to change. Then men don't like. Obviously, you don't like somebody that's so obsessed with being something else. Yeah. People, that's not.
Do you reckon it's sort of because
so people go to the other?
It's like trends are shifting all the time.
It's always, oh, I like this, but then people will try and go like that, and they don't like it anymore. So they'll.
When something becomes too popular, it kind of.
Well, that's why it's a perfect quote unquote body type, because not many people have it.
Exactly. That's why you said 5% of people have it.
Yeah.
When more than 5% people have it, you're gonna go shift to another people who are like 5% of that.
Those 5% of people are thrown on every poster in the world.
That's the thing. People want to go for the stuff that usually is hard to get. We don't want to go for the stuff that, I mean, in my own experience, you don't get in a relationship with someone that, yeah, it's like you don't go in a relationship with someone that you know is going to be an easy catch, because there's no I don't think there's going to be attraction there. If you know that someone's going to be an easy catch, you're not going to be like, oh, that's so easy. That's the thing. Like, I've done that before. This was when I was young. I was like, if I got with someone, I was like, I still felt crap about myself, right? But I would go, yeah, I can get with that person, and I would judge it like that. And I was like, but then, could I? Did I mean it's mad.
I think you tell yourself that to try and feel better about yourself.
Yeah, probably. That's probably right. That's probably where it's rooted at.
I don't want to say toxic masculinity because you already covered this, but it's very. I must be the one who impresses the girl, but but females feel the same way. I need to impress the man, because I mean, the entire history of the world has always been females trying to appeal to men. And that females are something that we need to earn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's rooted in
everything.
Sort of almost our DNA, I would say. There's a lot to it. This is something that, I mean, I don't know if you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna admit it. I wouldn't personally date someone. At least at my age, this might change. It probably will change. That is taller than me, because I like to feel like I'm the taller one.
But you only want to feel that because people will judge you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so I've sort of conformed to what reality is. But like, I'm it's not like it's a sexual attraction thing, because it's not. Because I've met people the same height as me that I've been attracted to. That's no problem. But I'm just saying, like, I think it's a something that's definitely rooted within me, that kind of thinks I want to be with somebody else that's smaller than me, because otherwise, I would feel quite emasculated.
Mm.
I just think that's the case. And
Well, I mean, I always like to laugh at people who say that and go, "Ha, boo-hoo," but it's at the same time, it's yeah.
I think if you interviewed and asked the majority of people, they would probably say the same.
Well, yeah, that's the thing though. But like, people don't want to be emasculated because of toxic masculinity.
Yeah, it's all related to it.
It is all related.
You know, we're a product of.
I mean, I would never want to
toxic
be.
masculinity.
I would never want to be emasculated because it's kind of. It doesn't even have to be jammed into your head that being masculine is the norm, because it's jammed into everyone else's head, so they judge you for it. Yeah. So even if you don't believe it, you still follow it because you're paranoid of being an outsider, or sometimes you can't help it. But that's just how it is.
It's ridiculously troubled, and like I said, we need to do more talking about it and stuff like that. Have you got any more statistics that we can talk about?
I'll have a look.
And we can sort of look at them.
There are. I think that was most of it.
That was most of it. Have we got another one, or a bonus fact, or?
I don't have a bonus fact.
Do you have anything you can bring to the table? I do
have a list of supermodels which use plastic surgery, if that really matters to you.
Yeah, no, go on.
Well, you got Tyra Banks, who admitted to having a nose job.
Right.
You have Britney Spears, who admitted to having lip injections.
Okay.
Cardi B, illegal butt injections.
Illegal.
Chrissy Teigen, John Legend's wife, right?
Sure.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Breast implants. Kylie Jenner, lip fillers. Kourtney Kardashian, breast implants, and then Kate Moss alleged this one, Botox and fillers. That one's alleged.
Right.
But the rest, they admitted to it.
Right. Okay. I mean, that's a big thing to admit, isn't it?
I guess, but it sucks because, to be fair, I want to say it, fuck supermodels, because they are so adamant on, oh, I am beautiful. Everyone's beautiful.
This is the thing. You can call yourself a supermodel. Everything's fucked. Because you are so full of yourself. If you can go, I'm super. Like, I would never go, oh yeah, I'm a supermodel, unless I was doing it ironically. Like, obviously, I could say it ironically.
I think supermodel's more of how much you get paid rather than how beautiful you are.
Yeah. So if you got paid a certain amount, then that would deem you as
yeah. I think it's tabloids are usually the ones who are like decide these people are pretty, which is I find hilarious because honestly, I won't lie. I've worked for tabloids. The people at the desks of tabloids are not pretty. So, and it's usually,
there you go. There's a first.
It's usually it is usually middle-aged. To be fair, it's both.
Oh, you're going to generalise here.
It is both men and women at tabloids that do this, especially in the fashion section. They are very judgmental.
Right.
And it sucks. And like you can say, oh, it's always men who like put these things on women, but like look in the tabloids, look for yourself, look at bylines. It's also
that's the thing. Like
it's women
being
doing
in
it
the
as
spotlight does a lot for you, like in terms of like your appearance, because
you have stylists.
When you were talking about tabloids and stuff like that, what is it? The Met Gala.
Yeah.
And people put so much effort into it,
Paparazzi.
Right? Right? Imagine going to the Met Gala and then putting so much effort into it, and this has happened before. And then the next day, you read the tabloids, you see what the people are talking about you, and writing about you, and they go, "It was horrid. Yeah, she or he looks horrible." Just imagine how that feels. Like it isn't going to be the warmest feeling.
Celebrity suicides are just so high.
I know. It's sad. I mean, it's like
I won't lie. I mean, I say it's men and women in the tabloids, but it is mostly women they target.
I would say so.
Like, think of the amount. It's always women in the tabloids.
Yeah.
And it's always their dress. Look, even if their dress is slightly wrong, they'll pick up on it and make an article. Or if it's not even just the way they look, it's also like things they do. It's just like if you're the wife of a celebrity, they'll only call you their wife. They won't call you by your name.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I mean, I get why they do that because they want to get to the top of Google and nobody's going to be searching that person's name because they're not famous. And I get that. But at the same time, they're also like judging them on like how they parent or like spying on them or just like Meghan Markle, right? Like, and this is what like it is racism, because you have Kate. Is it Middleton? Kate Middleton.
Yeah.
But
The
Kate Middleton, tabloids treated her like she was great. They were like, oh, she's look how
because
awesome she is.
they're almost like childhood sweethearts, aren't they?
Yeah, they're like, oh, look at how she's dressing. Look at all this. Oh, she's doing this. And then the second Meghan Markle comes because I don't know, is she mixed race or fully black? I don't.
I'm not too sure. Why don't we have a look?
I
But
don't want to assume her race, but
no.
I think she's mixed race.
Let's have a look.
Race, just said race.
Is descended on a mother's side from enslaved Africans.
So she's mixed race, right? So,
right. And father's side is from European settlers.
So Meghan Markle's mixed race, and because she, like, her physical skin is not white, tabloids are racist. They literally, Britain is racist. I don't know why people have a hard time believing that. Britain is racist.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so fucking sad, man. When
it is.
You think of like how far we've actually come, but like how little
that
we've
also
come at the
ties
same
into
time.
body image, does racism.
Yeah.
I know people who have tried to make themselves look white because of racism. I've heard stories of parents who have bleached their children's skin.
Well, it kind of ties back to the idea of well, we don't know if this is true, but people would speculate that Michael Jackson did that.
Possibly, but at the same
I mean,
time,
he obviously had issues, but it's the fact that people still assume that like that was such a publicized issue.
The thing is, with Michael Jackson, really be of an issue. Michael Jackson, I mean, you just have to know his entire personality to know that he just seemed like somebody who wasn't fully there sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what really went on. I don't want to assume. That's why we can only talk about speculation. But we're talking about celebrities. If that was the case, I probably wouldn't be surprised because, you know, the media is racist, and there are people. There are people, you know, will still be racist, you know, and as if like, why the fuck does race matter to anybody? Why would anybody judge somebody differently to, you know, why would anybody judge me, a white male, right, differently to someone who's black? What's the difference? They're not a different race. They're not a different race.
Yeah.
They're all part of the same race. You know, the fucking human race. There is nothing. Yeah. There's no difference between me and that person. There is no difference. Okay. All right. Maybe there is. Maybe they've got
everyone's different.
Maybe they've got a different shaped toe. Do you know? But that doesn't. They're still the fucking same race. I don't understand what the problem is. So the fact that people can judge other people differently because of their, you know, in quotation marks, race, right?
Yeah, like primary school
doesn't make sense to me.
Like, I've heard stories of like mixed race people or black people growing up in primary school around white people, and the kids are racist to them.
Yeah.
The kids are like, oh, can I touch your hair because it's African curly, stuff like that. Like, can I touch your hair? And
stuff like that, man.
They'll call them exotic, which is not great. I won't lie. Calling people exotic.
I don't know if I ran into it in my younger years, really.
I think if you did, you wouldn't have known.
No, I probably wouldn't have known. I will have had other things on my mind.
I respect what Nickelodeon did during the whole Black Lives Matter thing originally.
I didn't see.
Nickelodeon, I think they took all their shows down for a while and just displayed a screen on their channel saying something about racism.
That's mad.
So they get their parents to talk to the kids about what racism stuff is, because especially with white people, you don't grow up learning about racism when you're white. I bet you do when you're black. I bet that's one of the first things you're told, that people see you differently.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, I've never experienced any kind of racial hate towards me.
No.
I don't think the same could be said for somebody who, you know, is of a different race, because
it's very sad.
You know, it just is like, obviously I'm from England and I live in England, so the issue with that is the majority of the people that live here are of English heritage, right? So, you know, it's primarily, you know, people who are white. So, you know, being part of a majority, you don't ever come into contact with those conversations about why my race might matter, because it doesn't even cross your mind, because you sort of grow up assuming that it does matter. You don't need to be told that. So yeah, it's skin is another thing that pisses me off with body image, because it shouldn't be ever something that ever mattered, and again is something that's only
people do that. People try and change their skin colour.
It's only been an issue from our the way we've been raised and
the way that
our past.
Countries are built.
The thing is, we can't just go and say, let's forget about our past, but we've got to acknowledge it, and
we have to fix it. It's still a problem.
If we're now acknowledging it, right? Surely that means that other people can now acknowledge it.
Well, you've got is the younger generation. I haven't encountered a lot of younger people that have literally said stuff like, I have heard people say, "Oh, that was my ancestors. That's not me. Why are you calling me racist?" It's like, yeah, but you can't just. It's still happening. It's not just your ancestors. It's still happening.
The thing is, I don't agree with people attacking other people because of their racist comments.
If hearing
or
that
whatever.
somebody else
you have to kind of speak to people who make derogatory comments, not just about race, but about anybody related issue. Yeah, you've got to just speak to them, and you can't attack them because of it. You've got to make them understand. Attacking someone is never going to make them understand. You've got to kind of speak to them and maturely and just sit them down and go, right, well, this is the issue with what you're saying. Okay, you might not think it is that.
On both sides.
It does, and it's very difficult to get, because you'll find that a lot of people that make derogatory comments are often
judgmental.
Just absolute. Just they won't want to hear your opinion.
That's kind of
their opinion is right, and that's it. And they're the kind of people that you kind of deal with. But
I think that's why you need to.
It's something that will fade out, I believe, over generations.
Well, think of like,
say in 6 generations' time down the line, we're far gone, we're dead. We're probably being replaced by fucking robots by that time, right? The entire human race is demolished. Trump, what is it? Trump's son has been president.
Trump 7.0.
Yeah, has been president 5 times, and he's now a half cyborg.
Yeah.
And now, it's racism is basically not even an issue that really needs talking about, and that's the kind of point where I hope we'll reach, because eventually. I just do believe that it will completely fade out.
I hope. I think it starts with change, and if you don't get change, then people riot.
Yeah, exactly. It's I'm just hoping that it's something, as I said, it's generational. Derogatory terms and ideas come from poor values from the past.
Body image is as big of a problem now as it's always been, if not bigger.
Yeah. And it's up to us to kind of deal with it. And as with a lot of mental health illnesses and just a lot of issues are now down to the younger generations to sort, because who else is going to sort it? The people that are in power now, majority of them are older. They're not the generation that is gonna be president or prime minister in 30 years. It's gonna be almost our generation.
But it's always us who has to vote, and it kind of sucks because we could make a difference, and yet not everyone does.
We just need people, I believe, to represent the values of which I think.
I think we need to wait for a good candidate, which
we haven't really got any. We don't want to get into much politics, but we are. I don't think really there's any candidate, especially in the UK, that at least that could run for prime minister that I could really fully get behind, because there's so much corruption going on, and I don't think any of them really would give too much thought, at least from what I've heard and from what my research has provided, that they would even give a shit about the issues that we're talking about today. So
I think you have to wait a bit for somebody from our generation to get there.
yeah, so it's important that we do speak up about it, and I think that's a nice place to end, to kind of just talk about the fact that talking is what's gonna, talking is what helps people, but it's also is what's gonna get us forward. Do you know what I mean?
You just need to talk.
It's literally just words that come out your mouth. You can tell I've done a lot of talking today because my voice is getting sore.
If they want to talk, they can leave a message, right?
That's a good segue, and the one I haven't used yet. So yeah, if you actually have managed to listen to the end, which is very impressive, I have got a little sort of like a little bonus bit for you here, right? We have now got a feature where you can send in voice messages or messages that we can kind of react to live, and we can sort of play on the podcast and just sort of get a general kind of reaction from. So if you guys want to do that, that's great. I probably will find a link that we can put on one of the social medias. I haven't actually set up the social medias at this time, but they will be something like Talking Head Podcast or something like that. And that'll be on Instagram. So if you can find us on that, that'd be brilliant.
And leave a review.
And yeah, just get the word going. Leave reviews, because reviews actually do help us. And they do help get the word out. We aren't trying to do anything, to really bump ourselves up the social ladder. This is completely charitable. We do this just out of our own spare time. But it's something that, as well as being something that it isn't a chore to me, but it's something that's very close to my heart, and it lets me at least start talking. And so if you become inspired by any way by this podcast, then I encourage you to do your own podcast and please start talking to other people, because talking, as I said, gets us forward and helps us all.
If you have body issues like a lot of us do, there's just try to think about the positives. What do you like about yourself? What can you improve about, like, what you think of yourself? Can anybody help you do that? Is there anybody you can be open with and say, hey, I need help?
Yeah, the first step is reaching out, and you've probably heard that 1,000 million times. But as we've covered, you don't have to reach out to these official sources, these sources that are recommended by the government. You can literally just message your mate or whatever, and I'll message a family member or whatever, and that's an equally as effective way of sorting out your problem. But yeah, that's a nice way to end it. So thank you for listening, and hopefully I'll see you in a future episode. So yeah, spread the word, and yeah, peace.
Peace.
I didn't know how else to end it, really.